Welcome to Home Biz Tax Talk. My name is Lysandra Everett. I am the Home Biz Tax Lady, where I help home business owners win the tax game. Home Biz Tax Talk airs Monday through Friday, 9 o'clock-ish. And when you tune into my show, you're going to hear about topics that are important to the home business community. All right, today we're talking about an LLC being a disregarded entity. I've seen a lot of Facebook posts over the last couple of weeks about business structure, and this is one of those things that really set people on edge. Like, what does that really mean? So I want to talk about that today. Now, one of the things where I saw a post where it freaked somebody out, where they took it to mean as they weren't a real business because they were a single member LLC. And that is not the case. So an LLC being a disregarded entity means it's disregarded for tax purposes. Okay. So if you have a single member LLC, for tax purposes, you are a sole proprietor. If you have a multi-member LLC, for tax purposes, you are a partnership. The other thing that you can do with an LLC is that you can elect corporate treatment. You can elect S corporation treatment or C corporation treatment. Now, the thing that you have to realize is that when you have these different elections, like if you elect to be an S Corp or if you elect to be a C Corp, then you have to file by those rules. You have to file as if you were a C Corp to begin with, as if you were an S Corp to begin with. When you're a multi-member LLC, you have to file as a partnership, and those tax returns are due in March, okay, not April with everybody else. And it's important for you to know that because I just ran across someone the other day who was saying, okay, well, my husband and I are on this LLC. Okay, well, you're not a single member LLC, you're a partnership. In certain cases, like with real estate, where a husband and wife would be considered one, would be considered one member. But when it just comes down to a multi-member LLC, it's you and your husband, that is a partnership. That is not a single member LLC. So that's just an aside. So the thing that you have to take away from this is that, with an LLC, that does not legitimize your business. And the reason I want to make that clear is because people think that, their business is not a real business unless they go get an LLC or whatever, to have some kind of business structure. The truth is, a sole proprietorship is just fine for when you're getting started out and you're figuring stuff out. You don't have to go and run out and become an LLC and all this other stuff until you figure some stuff out. The LLC offers the separation of the business from you. It gives the business its own identity. So, and just to explain what that means is, when you are just a sole proprietor, I use that term just loosely because I really don't like the term just, but that's another aside. But when you are a sole proprietor, that means that you and the business are one. So if you die, the business dies. Okay. That's how it works. The LLC offers that separation, gives that business its own identity. Now, what's more important than the business structure is how you're keeping your books. And I cannot stress this enough, because one of the problems that we have with single member LLCs and sole proprietors is commingling of funds. Commingling means you are mixing your business money with your personal money. And as long as you're doing that, you allow the possibility of losing your liability protection that the LLC offers. That is why people have LLCs, to provide that liability protection, so that in the event that someone sues you, that they are only limited to the assets in that LLC. Okay. But if your books are not right, if you're commingling funds, if you're paying for business stuff with your personal money, paying for your personal stuff with your business money, that allows piercing of the corporate veil. And what that means is that if somebody sues you and they look at your books and seeing that you got your money working all willy-nilly, then that you lose that liability protection, and people can come after your personal assets anyway. Okay. So it's not the business structure that makes you legitimate. It's how you run the business. And if you're actually making money. Okay. If you are running a business at a loss year after year after year, you don't have a business. You have an expensive hobby. Okay. So I need for you to really get that. So it really depends on the type of business that you start as to whether or not you would start with an LLC. It depends, how likely is it for you to get sued? That's really what I tell people in the beginning, because certain types of businesses, yeah, I would tell you to start off as an LLC. If there's a high possibility of you getting sued, like I have a client that runs she does driver's training. She teaches teenagers how to drive, right? So if you go out and get in an accident with one of these teenagers, yeah, somebody's going to sue you. If you make toys or something that have small parts for kids, yeah, you want an LLC, because if a kid chokes on a part, somebody's going to sue you. So there are the high risk type of businesses and professions that I would say, yeah, you need to start out with an LLC and you need to have some mega business insurance. But on a regular day, right? On a regular day, it's okay to start out at the kitchen table, but you need to understand what that LLC means. So being a sole proprietor doesn't mean that you don't have a real business. It does not mean that at all. Having an LLC doesn't mean that you have a real business. It depends on how you run your business. But for tax purposes, that is what the disregarded entity means. It means that for tax purposes, you are either a sole proprietor, a partnership, an S Corp, or a C Corp. That's it. The LLC is a state operated entity. The states are the ones that govern the rules of the LLC, because every state has its own rules. They have their own reporting rules. They have their different fees. They have different tax requirements, we got 50 states, 50 different rules. Okay, so when it comes down to your business structure, your state is what's really going to be governing your LLC, not the federal government. For the federal government, the LLC is real cute, but you either a sole proprietor, a partnership, an S Corp, or a C Corp. That's it. Okay, so yeah, the other thing is that you have to, one of the other questions I got with the LLC, I should have just made this about LLCs and just not the whole disregarded entity thing, but whatever. Side note. But the other thing that, people talk about with the LLC is, if I add somebody to my LLC, well, then when you add a member to your single member LLC, you then become a partnership and you're really, creating a whole new business entity. Okay. So yeah, that's what it means to have the disregarded entity. It doesn't mean that your business is not legitimate, that it's not recognized. What's the other, that it's not real business and all. Listen, y'all putting too much weight on three little letters. Okay. Really. So, because a lot of times with your business, having an LLC, if you're not doing things right, you're not going to get the liability protection anyway, but sometimes you really just don't even need one. I'm not saying, but there's no cut and dry answer. There's no one right answer for everybody. And so this is why I tell you to talk to professionals. On this broadcast, I have Miss Pat on here. Ooh, I didn't mean to make that all big. I have Miss Pat on here. We got our tax professional community is huge. Okay. You gotta talk to somebody really to make the best decision for you and your business, not just, taking Facebook advice. I can't stress it enough that even though I do these live broadcasts every day, I put them up on YouTube and all that other good stuff, you can't get complete tax advice from a Facebook post, from a live broadcast, from Google, because you are looking at it in a vacuum, where when you consult with somebody, you're looking at the big picture and looking at different avenues and different tax consequences of what you're doing. Okay. So yeah, so that's what that means for that disregarded entity. It just means disregarded for tax purposes, guys. The states govern your LLC. You need to know what your state rules are. Make sure you comply with those, and make sure you comply with the federal filing requirements for the different types of entities. Okay. So yeah, that is it, you guys. So thank you so much for tuning into Home Biz Tax Talk. Again, we air Monday through Friday, 9 o'clock-ish, and you can come here to get your questions answered about your home business taxes. All right, have a great day, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.